And it's why, even though I have lots of interests in Web3, that's so interesting, I've decided that until we can not spit out these other wonderful perspectives and we can start to hold space for them, just let them be there. Let someone else's version of intelligence sit there and don't ask for a report on it. Just take it, just let it sit there. And until we can actually practice inclusion as human beings, as individuals, I'm just gonna stick with this. This is my area, so that's it.
Super well said, and 100%. I can't empathize with you more on that. I think it speaks to what you were talking about before around like the different types of intelligence and logic. Since this is a panel on financial freedom, I'll give a couple of numbers. I think part of it, let me back up. So I think when I'm talking to women who are interested in crypto, who've made through my like 3 a.m., oh my God, this is so amazing, we're changing the world speech. A lot of them don't come from a technical background, and a lot of them end up in more of the EQ, community management type roles. And what I found both in the startup community, but it's particularly exacerbated in Web3 and in the DAO space, is when you have, say, a founder who has a really technical perspective, you're often asked to just quote unquote prove it with your observations. But not only that, they don't know how much things cost. So, you know, I was talking with a founder who, technical guy, nice guy, he wanted me to come in and build a bunch of different programs from the ground up for onboarding, for community management, really complex, challenging stuff from the ground up, creating dashboards for it so I could prove my theories and observations. I like data though, so like, that's fine. But we're talking, we have some interviews and stuff, and I was like, so, you know, you want to pay me for this? You know, because it's like work, and I would like to be paid for that. Big tech ladies don't work for free, which actually is a big tip. I'm being flippant, but like, please don't work for free. Men don't do that generally. And I was like, so what are we talking for this? You know, similar roles are going for like 100, 150K. And the marketplace goes, oh my God. Well, I thought maybe like 30K.
Whoa.
This has happened to me more than once.
Yep.
This has happened to me more than once. And so when you want to talk about not just not being heard, it's not being valued financially, and it's kind of it can be a really challenging space sometimes to educate founders, like actually these skills are not only valuable, they're valuable according to the market. And yeah, you can pay someone $30,000 a year to do this for you, but they won't have the experience that I will, and you're going to run into a lot of problems. So that just really resonated with me. But I've had that happen, I think, at least 3 times. So I start asking early, what's the salary expectation for this? And I think that's a good tip overall.
Thank you so much. Can I just ask all the women who feel as though they resonate with what's been said to raise their hands? Is anyone not raising their hands? No. Okay, cool. Does it resonate with the men in the room? Cool. So I think that we could talk all day, but that's what the day's for, is other people's voices. And there is the financial inclusion element and how we can get involved. So there's a couple of things that I just want to say from my perspective. A lot of people come in through conversation, but now we've had various Web3 elements in the medium, or they can come in there in their own. I've invested through communities and conversations. And what we have in the bigger pie, I'm working with people like Panvala, Heard Out, Jovian's Network, you know, everyone who's aligned on the mission. What we're building is a career path to support women throughout their journey. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from or where you're going, we can direct you to the various resources, communities, networks, education, and placement in jobs that will support you in that. And working with others, making sure that when we put you in a company, it's not toxic for you. Also, quite often, especially when you have a small team, you might be the only woman in the team. So then you have peer-to-peer mentoring support networks like a bigger pie to be able to give your professional yin and yang space, some feminine energy, whilst in the company they have chance to build more women. And I think that's really important as well to retain women that are in, because if women are going into an environment that isn't conducive to them and have no other support to go in there, then they leave before they get a chance to hire more women. So we'll be launching a 0 to CTO, 0 to CMO, women on boards, and a female founders program. So if anyone's interested in participating in it, supporting it, having access to the talent that comes out of it, then I would love to have a conversation with you. Because we have a huge gap between demand and supply when it comes to talent. And if we can get women to take 30% of the blockchain engineering roles at an average of $120,000 a year salary, which is way below market price, we can bring in $60.5 billion of income to women every year. So when we talk about pay gaps, in this space, it's like, we're just not in that role. There's not a pay gap for you doing that job. There aren't enough women who are able to build in this space. So we definitely want to be able to support that. And the other thing that I want to say that you touched on, imposter syndrome, there is a conflict between confidence and competence. Neither gender has it right. So the research suggests that men tend to have more confidence in their competence, women tend to have more competence in their confidence. Did I say that right?
Yes. Be confident.
What that means in reality is a guy will go for a position 2 years before they're ready, and a woman will wait 2 years past her readiness. In a space like this, that's 4 years. And that's 4 years of less competent people building. So can we just get past that and pull our hands up and get this? So in terms of your financial journey with people, can you each take your turn to describe what that's been like, the goods, highs and lows?
Oh, just thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. I like to talk. It keeps me invigorated. My financial journey has been one of I have moments of growth, and then I sort of like my ethics get in the way. It seems like the people who are willing to write the biggest checks also want you to like lobotomize yourself and not. I always find that like when I'm offered a raise, I'm like, can my whole team have a raise? Like, what about the other people that are just as good as me? Then they're like, oh, actually, never mind. We're not going to give anyone a raise. That's too expensive. Let's just give ourselves a raise again. I'm so like intensely like focused on equity and inclusion, even before I knew what those words were and those concepts were, that I've had a hard time sort of looking out for myself and grabbing what is like possibly available to me and like really being like selfishly interested and like getting what I need. And also like as a woman with less confidence, which I now have more confidence, but I've quite often underbid and worked at less than my value and been like, just thank you so much for having me, I'll just like, should I sweep everything after the panel? Like just trying to do extra because I just feel like I'm not like worthy of like being here and taking up space. And I'm just barely getting to the place now where I'm like, oh my God, I have to take up space. And I have to take a salary too, and I have to take money, and so my relationship to money is actually changing because I realize I have to now fundraise for an organization that's doing diversity and inclusion work. And now my like concept of smallness will impact others. So I have to raise my targets around self-worth, around what do I think the work is worth. And I have to say, well, tech projects get $10 million, but we should get like 25,000, right? And then I have calls with Bridget, and she's like, you need 2 million. She's like, if it gets started, you need 2 million. Let's just break it down. I'll send you a spreadsheet. So yeah, my concept of money is like, you can tell it's zooming in, zooming out, zooming in, zooming working out. Like, I'm not very stable with it. And because of that, my earning has like slowly increased. Yeah, that's kind of how my concept of money and my path to financial freedom has been. I will say, yes, I have been passed over for promotions. Basically just passed over for like, people like to give me lateral. They're like, hey, she was so effective in that role. She made that whole department work. Instead of giving her a raise and a promotion, let's just make her fix this other broken department and she'll get paid the same amount. Meanwhile, I'm going around to the hardest projects in the company. And some of them are failing, some of them are succeeding, but I'm taking on all the hardest projects and not actually ascending in like this. So this is another like loop that you might find yourself in if you're someone who's really compassionate, like women tend to be, where you like want to do the work that other people are ignoring, and therefore that work has not been valued, and therefore you can't prove the value, therefore you can't bill. So it's just like we're doing the important work, but we can't bill for it. A lot of it's invisible. Everyone just nodded. But I'm gonna pass it.
Yeah, I feel you. I wanted to offer a slightly different perspective on financial inclusion, and this is less to do with, how much I earn, opportunities that we passed over. I work kind of at the center of decentralized finance, right? So just some context, my day-to-day job, I work with all the biggest protocols. We're liaising with teams all the time. We have whales who use our wallet, right, who will DM us about features and things like that. And so we have our eyes and hands in just every single part of what decentralized finance is, from the most complex yield strategies on Yearn, where people are aping into projects promising 500% APY and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a matter of days. I mean, we've seen it all. And I've done this now for the last two years and a bit, and I've been thinking about this recently. Why am I not a millionaire yet? Like, I saw people's wallets go from $10,000 to 100 million in a matter of weeks in the DeFi Summer of 2020. And I'm like, I understand all this stuff. I've experimented with this. I mean, I've made some money, not gone and burned, but why am I not the whale yet? I have these questions because it's like, when we talk about financial inclusion in Web3, we talk about opportunities to make money. I think it's really important that we be very clear about how people are making money, right? It's like, yes, across the board, there's more opportunity for financial gain, right? So something as simple as a DeFi savings account, you can earn 10% annually compared to your bank account. Bank of America gives 0.01%, and I'm not kidding. Like, the disparity is crazy. Everyone should get a DeFi savings account. But beyond that, that's not how people are making life-changing money, right? We're talking about elevating people to financial freedom. Financial freedom is a very big number. And I think that sometimes when we have these conversations, we're being a little bit disingenuous around what it takes to make that level of money, because it takes a massive level of risk. It takes you already having $20,000 to put into the yield farming strategy to make the 1 million or 2 million that you made. You're not going to do it with $500. You're not going to do it with 1,000. You might not even do it with 5,000. And I just want to make that really, really clear that there's a lot of opportunity, but unless you have the literacy, as Yip was talking about, it can be a very, very complex space to navigate. And so I feel like there is the educational aspect, but there's also the education can't just come from the communities that want to get access to these financial services and opportunities. I think of it as a two-sided thing, right? In terms of the products and the financial products that are available, what are they doing to make themselves more accessible to a wider audience, right? There is no ways I'm ever going to tell my college friends, go and use Yearn. Like, I'm just not going to do it. I would never do that to them. tell them, hey, use Ethereum, and you can track your portfolio really clearly and invest in Ethereum and these kinds of things. But I think that there needs to be a bridge between those two sides, because we can have dozens or hundreds of amazing educational communities in Web3, getting women to get a wallet for the first time, to invest in NFTs, to try out liquidity pools. We can't outsource that entire burden onto them. That isn't right, that isn't fair. And I also just don't think that it's a scalable model for opening up access. So I'm going to leave it at that and pass this on.
Nice.
So I have a very interesting relationship with money. I guess that stems from living without any for an extended period of time and the majority of my life. Working in the nonprofit world, like my life is rooted in creativity and community service. And I got a little, upset about money for a while because of what I saw it doing to people, and my family is from Afghanistan, where, women can't work right now, they can't even leave their homes. And I just thought, oh my God, what if I had a few $1 billion to just fly everybody out of there and just start a new Afghanistan? And then I realized how powerful money is. So I almost, in a way, had to surrender while continuing to, keep my moral ground and use money for good. So all the money that I'm raising at this conference is for homelessness. Will I be compensated for the work that the systems that I'm creating? Yes, I deserve to be compensated for work, as should everyone. But there's a difference between financial freedom and being rich. And I personally, I don't need to be rich. I just want to pay my bills, buy my dog treats, travel every few months. And I feel like Web3 offers that flexibility for people. DAOs offer that flexibility for people, where you don't have to work or be paid for work that occurs during 9 to 5, or for some people, hours much longer than that, 5 days out of the week. Like, what if we were paid for work that we chose to complete? And we could opt in and out of working when it worked for us. So I think a lot of elevating ourselves to financial freedom is defining what financial freedom means for us. Don't take someone else's definition of how much you should be earning. Plan out the life that would make you happiest and that would elevate other people in your community, and use that as your starting point. And I just have to say that a lot of this is really just believing in yourself. Be more confident than you think you should be, because you'll be amazed at the things that happen when you just speak your truth and someone listens.
I'll make it snappy then. I've got a couple things. I love what everybody's been saying. I think for me, money really represents freedom. If it all goes to hell, shit hits the fan, if I've got a little nest egg, I'm gonna be fine. I was talking with my mom actually, who's wonderful, and she was telling me this story about her grandma. Sorry, my grandma. Because I just got engaged. It's very exciting. And my grandma, she grew up very poor in an immigrant community, and lost her mother very young. But one of the things that she found was really important was passing on jewelry that she had. And it was really important to get an engagement ring, because if you accidentally got pregnant and then the guy left, at least you had something to pawn. And I was just shocked. I've got a very J. Crew style, so sort of pearl earrings and stuff, but I had never thought of that as generational wealth. And the idea of building generational wealth and giving this sense of freedom and a little bit of a breath to people, that I care about kind of beyond me. when I think about the opportunities in Web3 and like all of that, I really think this is our generation. I mean, this is such a huge seismic shift. I think this is a place for our generation to make truly impactful generational wealth. And I think the only way to do that is be bold. The second thing I want to talk about very briefly, in my Web 2 days, I helped hundreds. I literally helped hundreds, perhaps even thousands of consultants set their own rate. Women consistently set the rate lower than men. Please stop doing that. Do some market research or come up with something and then go, you know what, I'll ask for a little bit more than that. And if you want, fortune favors the bold. So if you're going to go for, some big investment opportunities, you need to spend to gain and have some risk tolerance, but have some understanding of what that means for you. So, fortune favors the bold, but I think building freedom is what it's about there.
You got a minute to Okay, I think the most toxic things I've experienced in my corporate life was when people tried to mentor me. I think sponsoring or investing is so much more powerful. So like when you see women ask, like needing help or so, maybe you can ask, how can I fund your project? Because that's actually how you build social capital. That's how you build capital and empower people to then become investors themselves. And it's super important in Web3 because right now all the alpha is to be made. And every woman who's missing out on that means there's a gap that cannot be covered anymore. It's not only gender pay gap, it's actually wealth accumulation and wealth distribution. And it's actually getting much, much bigger, that gap, if women do not invest into Web3 projects, because that's where the money is made. And so there's any chance to encourage your friends to step in. If you are in a position where you can allocate your funds, you can become an activist, investor, in shaping the world that you want to see. And I think this is the value promise of Web3, it's the stakeholder economy. Everyone can become a stakeholder by supporting a project and owning a stake in it, and not only just advising and consulting and mentoring. This is all not really skin in the game. And a lot of women, if they work with you, support you, your project, maybe offer them, a share in your project so that you can close that gap that is else just widening at a rate that you can never close again.
Thank you so much, everyone. We're going to get less than 2.2% of all VC funding. Mixed teams get around 8 or 9%, and the rest of it goes to all male teams. So women will give you more profits, and that makes no sense. So can we please choose well? There's so much that we've only scratched the surface on, but Panvala is organising a full day on inclusion in this space. Thank you everyone for showing up and for listening. Thank you so much to these incredible women, and thank you to Dr. Cambridge.
So once again, I want to thank you, Bridget, Jovi, and Alex, Layla, and Rebecca. I didn't even look at the slides. So thank you so much for your time. We're now going to switch over to our next panel. As we do, please help yourself. We have food, we have coffee. Also grab them for a conversation or a chat. We are sharing out the live stream right now. It's going to our BUIDLing Twitch channel. We are also tweeting out, including their handles. So follow Panvala HQ on Twitter if you'd like to follow up with these amazing people who are doing awesome work in Web3. So thank you so much. And we're going to now transition to our next panel. Kyle, Ali.
Get out there, right?
This afternoon. You were awesome.
Oh my God, thank you.
We send out people so we probably
So, we're pushing to the middle week Twitch.
Okay.
To
the not the Ethereum one.
We're not pushing to Panvala. So we're meant to be pushing Panvala. If I give you the event link for Panvala, can you push to that instead?
Is it the event?
Go into the spreadsheet.
Not on YouTube, right?
Yes, on YouTube there's an event.
So here's the thing. That's what I tried to do. Watch what happens. So I tried to go here. And there's nothing here. So I want you to go subscribe to the YouTube channel, right? YouTube channel. It's like this stuff. So wow. Press the enable streaming channel. Right? So you takes these steps. You go to live dashboard. You set this up. Here's my concern. It takes 24 to 48 hours to get through. So I can try.
What are we getting?
This. The sponsor side. Sponsors.
That's not us. So that's